Hi, everyone. It's Bruce, and today we have a girl, some guys, and a movie. And today's discussion is going to be on the 1995 movie Waterworld. Waterworld by Kevin
Fish
Reynolds. Oh,
called
there,
Kevin.
yeah, no. It's a mitigated. You guys go. If I'm gonna Eddie Murphy out here. Where's that mute thing? Scrolls.
Sorry about that. It was my phone letting me know that we're live, so I can talk from there.
I laughed. I cried. It was a good movie. Sort of.
I thought it held up really well considering because I never saw it in a movie theater. I saw it when it came to home video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my buddy had it on HBO or something like that. It did well enough, even though it bombed, to have a water theme park. That's why, like, partly through some of the action, I was like, I wonder if they had this in mind when they were making it, because, like, that was almost scene for scene what they had at the theme park.
But, didn't they take scenes from the movie and put it in that ride?
They did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you want to ride a skidoo off a ramp and do Michael Bay explosions.
Yeah, there was a few things that I noticed in this movie that I thought, if people knew the ice caps were melting, because they didn't just melt, overnight. They melted over time. So you'd think more people would have taken better care of their yachts and things like that. Even if they didn't have gas anymore, that they would have came up with ways of propelling their boats, like like they did with the thing where the people were rowing, stuff like that.
Revert back to the age of sail and oil.
Yeah, we have sailboats, we have tons of things like that. So to me, that was kind of lame. But that one person did say it'd been 100 years since that had happened, and that they were dying out because there was inbreeding and all this different stuff. There wasn't any people to have
a lot of algorithms.
Yeah, it was there was the one thing I didn't understand that I remembered when I was young, and my I think it was my dad that tried to explain to me, because when they put the dead woman in that big pool of goo, on that one little island that they had made out of floating debris or whatever, and had a big yeah. So in the middle of that, with all the water, they had this goo shit, and I don't know what for, because you would think that they would just dispose of them in the ocean. You know what I mean?
Well, it's part of the environmental message. So, like, we had the melting ice caps and the global warming, and now we have to reduce, reuse, and recycle. So we have the goo pits.
Were they recycling
which are nutrient-rich.
See, I didn't see them using any of that to recycle anything.
Everybody got recycled, it looked like.
The floating atoll had a full-grown tree coming out of it. So I'm thinking, you put the dead bodies, you make the fertilizer goop.
Yeah.
You
with
put
dirt.
The people soup on the tree, and yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really notice that. I just thought it was I don't know, it was some kind of disgusting. And if you eat meat, fish and stuff like that, and you eat meat, then you can't use your poop to recycle. They tell you that in Girl Scouts, that you have to you can use chicken poop because they don't eat meat. They don't, they might eat a frog or something, but they eat bugs and mostly plants and corn and things like that. So
technically you can, but if you were to compost human feces, it takes about 3 years.
It takes
1 year
longer.
in a compost pile, another compost pile after it's like broken down and all the really nasty
it's
crap.
Like almost a full decade process for human waste to go from where it's like out of the truck to where you can bag it and sell it.
It was just pretty disgusting. And the fact that he was almost drowned in it. It was pretty disgusting in itself, considering who knows what else was in that besides dead bodies and bones, and I don't know whatever else. But just little things like that I thought were kind of weird. And but the concept of it was pretty good. But he was the only one that showed you how he was recycling his urine and stuff. And then you did see a lot of the clouds. So there's rain. There has to be rain because, it's constantly recycling as it evaporates. But you didn't see anything. They didn't really show you a lot on how they recycle all the water that he had bought, remember, with all his dirt that he was turning into, get water and other things. They didn't really show with all those people on this little thing how they were making water for all these people and stuff like that, because they were reproducing, because there was young children. I didn't see any babies, but I did see children, the same age as Ilona, as I say her name, Enora. So and they didn't really explain very well where she came from. You go there, you see her parents are dead bones laying in the bed or whatever, but you don't have any idea how a young girl her age, a girl her age got out on the ocean. I mean, who took her out there? You didn't get any answers. And I think I remember talking about that when I first saw the movie, that I thought that was kind of lame. And the more I watched it, just like I said, thinking about it, it seemed like they had 3 writers that wrote this. It seemed like they had taken a concept that maybe came from Kevin Costner, because he wanted to star in a movie with himself. And they took a couple of different scripts and condensed them down and made one out of it. Took different aspects from each of the scripts and made one, because I've seen them do that. They do these screenplay contests for young up and coming writers, and then they'll sell them outright or buy them outright for like $1,000 or whatever, and get a bunch of scripts for really dirt cheap. They don't give the credit to the writer, and they just rewrite it, the storylines, the ideas and stuff out of it, and make their own scripts, and then make a movie like this one. But
well, Scotty, this is a hell of a script you have here. It's 90 pages, and man, this is just action-packed and lots of world building. Yes, sir, I did a good job, didn't I? Absolutely, you did, Scotty. What do you do for a living? I read comic books. This is my first script. Awesome. I'm going to give you $100 for this, and you go back home and you do this again. $100 That's.
And they'd be excited to have it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them would sell it. Just like I brought up before, the movie The Santa Claus was bought outright, and the actual writer that wrote it didn't get his name on the credit, because normally if you write the script, you get your name up there on the big screen as big as the director's name, and they don't like to do that if they don't have to. So that is fine.
You get half a dozen people with like script.
Yeah.
Then you got a wall of.
And then, as I said earlier, when we were backstage, they were having a lot of problems with the script, and that they had called in, what was his name? Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon. The guy that wrote the last few seasons of Roseanne. If to my knowledge, I could be wrong. He wrote the last few seasons of Roseanne. He was one of the primary writers. He wrote some really good episodes, and then that was like what he did to build himself up, and he got out of comedy and then started doing Buffy and the rest of
what I was able to find, it said in the trivia area, I dug around in there, it said that he had flew out to the set in Hawaii to do last minute rewrites on the script, because the third act was really shitty, supposedly, and that he went there and he stated that a little more than taking notes is what he did from Kevin Costner and trying to work them into the script, because Kevin Costner wanted, I guess, more FaceTime or whatever he wanted. But and that basically all the ideas he came up with, they didn't want. So he got paid to go there and and help rewrite, but basically all he did was take notes for Kevin Costner, basically.
He's lying. The main thing he did, he went out there and he hung out with Kevin Costner on set, and then he played the game of it's my turn to pee. And it seemed like everybody that had anything to say about this movie, when they were going out places, they were going out to the set, the floating atoll, anything, anywhere to do with this film. The moment they got on a boat, they were trying to do logistics for I'm going to need to poop in so many hours, or I need to pee in so many hours. And none of these boats have bathrooms. They're just little fucking speed boats or cigar boats, and they take you to this spot. And they didn't build the floating atoll with really good uh, flushing services, even though it's the size of a football stadium. So they have to send out a small barge and keep that hidden off camera with latrines and such. This movie is the you want to study how to film a film, study this movie, because this movie is perfect. They had to put this stupid floating atoll like 2 hours away, mainly from the docks in Hawaii, and then they had to have it to where it could spin. So when they're filming things, the rest of the land sizes or the land masses in the area aren't on camera. Then you have these actors, and heaven forbid they need food, or no, we need lights because we're filming at night now, or we have to have bathrooms. These little prima donnas, they did not understand that you have to do this. Whoever it was in charge of filming this movie, go ahead.
I was just commenting about Mac's comment.
Ah,
you get floaters that way.
Yeah,
sometimes in frame.
Yeah, and plus you.
Now, what's ironic is that
you bring fish. You take a wee wee and poo poo in the ocean. You bring animals, so I wouldn't recommend doing that.
So, Kevin Reynolds asks Steven Spielberg, who had his shit show with his water movie, was all, don't film on open water. I should have filmed it in video. And so what do?
Open water.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I looked up, and they had the little island that they built. Basically, it cost $22 million
got
to build
severely damaged by one of the hurricanes. Got hit by 3 hurricanes total.
And Kevin Costner ended up donating $22 million toward the film. And hi, Flady. Thank you for joining us. He put $22 million of his own money into it, and basically you could use it as a tax write-off, especially if they lost money, because that's an investment, right? So
yeah, I've seen this movie 3 times now, and this is probably the worst one, but it's not the fact of the streaming issue. It's the fact that the other 2 times I was able to be in a movie theater, and it's the rose-colored glasses of having friends, and the popcorn and the giant gallon of like soda that you get in 1995 when you're watching it. And I saw it twice in theaters, and it was more entertaining then because Dennis Hopper's like larger than life, and you're just laughing your ass off because he's got this photo of old Joe and it looks great. And then we watch this, and I'm like, yeah, this is more realistic, I guess. There's a realistically sized Dennis Hopper. And then watching the special effects, and I can see like where there's mats involved, or they're doing this with projection, and I'm like, I don't remember this in the theater, like being able to point out exactly which fires are realistic, which fires are CGI, which ones were filmed and then composited. And I'm just seeing that, and it's not going to be the same.
What up, TCG? Jackie Blue.
It's not the same review I was going to give back from 95. I tell you what, kids. And Mac Thompson, yeah, as a old ex-squid, yeah, there's no shame in hanging it over the side of the ship if you can have the relief. or if nothing else, just using a 5 gallon bucket and pitching it after you're finito.
Well,
Just if you end up in the drink, don't swim with your mouth open.
well, you guys must not spend that much time in the ocean because, just
I've
like
spent time in the ocean.
no, I mean,
I've done
time.
my business.
Okay, well, the thing is that you, especially with that many people on a set and you're all pooping and peeing in the water, you're going to bring fish. And if you have lots of fish, you're going to bring sharks. And I've heard of lots of people that have had their legs bitten and their arms bitten by sharks in the ocean surrounding the islands of Hawaii. So I guarantee they had people saying, don't go to the bathroom in the water, go to the beach and use I'm sure they had porta potties out for people to use because it isn't smart, and I wouldn't want to get bit because some guy beside me took a shit, in the water.
I mean,
you fall in and get bit, so I wouldn't do it.
I'm just going to say that there was plenty of times where we had problems on the Defender, and there we are with 5 gallon buckets. And then about 4 hours later, I'm on a aft lookout watch. There's a guy pooping in a bucket 30 foot away behind a crane, and I can tell there's sharks in the water because it doesn't really get super dark.
Yeah,
it gets dim, and if you've got starlight and a little bit of moonlight, you're seeing things. You're able to see things. Plus, you've got lights on the boat if you want to illuminate the ship behind you. A lot of guys will do that. They'll have the lights on the boat, and they'll turn on a red light just so they can see what's in the chum as the rooster tails ship picking up stuff. And you'll see the sharks come around 4 hours later after you've been throwing things in the water to bring the fish along. Yeah, I get that, and we all thought about that. I'd rather get attacked and killed by a shark than have to deal with a man of war every day of the week.
Or they'll stick to you and they'll stick to your boat, and then you can't even get out because they're just stuck all over the sides of your boat.
Yeah.
Well, it's really scary. But
during this entire shit show, would the cast and crew rather be attacked by sharks or deal with more bitchiness? Kevin Costner.
Well, all I know is that
he got his ego, and then he was going through a messy divorce, and he's a bitch to work with, and he's constantly getting wet in all those scenes. So he's getting a little perturbed about getting doused with buckets of water. I'm sure it wasn't the most friendly of environments to be working at.
No,
despite all the weather and everything else. This movie is a treasure trove of just how not to make a water movie, but it's got these awesome concepts, and it came out to be a pretty decent movie. Is it Oscar quality? No. Does it put you to sleep right away? No. But it does have some action and adventure and cool themes, and back in the mid 90s when I was world building and stuff, it's oh cool, here he is going to the underwater city, which I later found out was supposed to be Colorado.
So it was a city in Colorado then.
Yeah. What it was, I don't know, but the miniatures that they used were awesome. It was filmed in smoke to give it that underwater effect, like in what was it, Leviathan and
Deep Star 6.
Deep Star 6, and then what is the third one that I'm trying to think of?
The Abyss.
The Abyss, yeah. There we go. So if you look at those movies, they use a lot of smoke, and then they use practical tank effects and stuff. This did it also, but unfortunately its budget was all whack, so we didn't get the full effect. The potential of it was there, but the money wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's why we only get the mutant fish in that one scene, and then some CGI stuff.
Yeah.
Later on, everything else it had to be practical.
Yeah, the one scene that I liked the best, that was my favorite scene, was the one where, he kind of let his guard down. He actually has a real conversation, with Helen, and he wants to show her that there isn't dry land anywhere because he feels like he's seen every inch of the planet, basically of where the water's at, which is supposed to be the whole planet. So he doesn't believe in that there's real dry land anywhere. So he doesn't even really believe it, even though he takes her and shows her where he got the dirt and where he gets all the cool stuff, and he finds it because he's tethered a line with a little buoy down to this one city that he was able to find, I guess, because he just swam down one day or something and happened to see it because it was a place on the planet where, because isn't Colorado pretty high elevation?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's why they chose that state and maybe a few cities in that state where he might actually go down and swim that deep because, he has gills. He doesn't need to breathe air. He's a mutant or whatever. But I think that's why they said that they used Colorado as one of them because it had a big city and it's high elevation. But to take her down there and show her that this is where he got all his stuff so that there isn't dry land. That's where I get my soil, and that's where I got, all the different things. And it kind of helped her in a way, more of a human quality that he had one-on-one with her. But the fact that later, after they, supposedly have sex with him, they didn't even have to show it because everybody knew what they were doing. And the fact that he finds that picture that the little girl had drawn of a tree. Okay. And then he pulls out his old National Geographic and he sees a tree and he realizes that she's seen dry land. And that's where I had the hard time back when I first saw it, was like, here you have the parents dying, okay, because they didn't have food or whatever it was. They were jungle disease or whatever, because you don't find out anything about why they're dying, but their kid's not sick, their baby or whatever. And somehow, what do? Put it on a little boat and push it out to sea? I mean, they don't give you any explanation. And that I had a really hard time with that. And I don't know if it's because they cut it all out of the editing. Instead of Kevin Costner, standing on his boat looking menacing over the water, they could have put in a little more about, what happened and how she even knew about dry land, because supposedly she's drawing stuff that she's seen or remembers she saw. So she had to be at least, 3 years old, 4 years old. And how old is she now? What, 9, 10, maybe?
8.
Okay. So, it'd only been a couple years that she'd even been alive and seen dry land. The fact that no one else has seen it, I mean, it's just, they don't give you enough answers to fill the voids, that there are gaping holes, basically. And that's why I believe that it's more than one script, that they had a general idea of what they wanted to do because of global warming or whatever the premise was, but they had to make a story about it. So they just got a bunch of scripts, took little bits and pieces from different scripts with the 3 writers and then Josh Wheaton, and throwing it together to make a script. And that's why it's jumbly. And that's really hard. I'm not going to put all the blame on the editors because it's hard to edit a jumbled up script. When you take in all these pieces and trying to put them together, it's like a puzzle where the pieces are cut out and there's little holes all in it because you just pounding a piece to where you want it to go instead of where it belongs. And that's basically how I felt watching some of this movie. Just like you said, it was very smooth. It seemed like it went symmetrical at the beginning, but then as it got to the end, when they realized, wait, we spent $175 million on this and we're not done. We need to do something. So they start piecing in cheaper CGI and whatever else just to get the movie put together, to put it out in the theater. And I don't even know I don't even think they could have recouped that money at the theater. They had to have done it in rentals and stuff. Did you look that up to find out?
I did.
What did it say?
They lost their money basically up until 2013 in the video rental market.
Yeah.
It was finally profitable by 2013 by about $50 million.
Yeah. Okay.
Woo.
I know, right? Woo, we won.
2 years after the movie, they made a 4-comic series that was kind of fleshed out a little bit more of what happened. From what I understand, there was a giant comet filled with ice
Yeah.
that hit sea level more than 200 feet, and that's why we got Denver or whatever these towns are all underwater. So basically, I guess like the Himalayas would be the new island chains. Any place with like massive mountains.
I did think the one comment that Helen made, I wrote it down on a little snip of paper when she said, "Well, when I heard about dry land, I just thought it floated because of she was born on the water apparently because if they flooded 100 years ago and they talked about dry land or whatever, then it would have been that's what people would think because all their land floats. They don't have any land. They're all on boats or jet skis or their boats all tied together, that type of thing. And the fact that they hadn't, I don't know, made bigger cities than the one that you saw where there's, that he went to trade. So there really wasn't a lot of people. Now on that ship that we saw floating, old tanker, which is the only tanker that apparently in the whole ocean, considering all the countries that had time to prepare for the floods.
I can see it.
It just was, I don't know. I just had a really hard time with it.
I can see it. Okay, there's people that you can tell them a month from now, like, have your taxes ready on April 15th. And on April fucking 15th, they're like scrambling around and they don't get their fucking taxes done. They're just stupid.
Yeah, but that's paying someone money. But when you're gonna
But
give
you already know it's coming, right?
yeah,
Okay, is April 15th a mystery? No, it's on the next month's calendar day. So then you tell people like, hey, you may want to save some money so you can buy your kids some clothing in July or in August for the new school year, and then in September you get a call from Deb. Deb's like, hey Bruce, yeah, what's going on, Deb? Hey, you still got that job over in the oil field? Why are you asking to borrow money? How do you know I'm trying to borrow money? It's September and you probably need money for your kids, right? God damn it. She hangs the phone up. And you get this shit all the time. Like people, you tell them there's an impending deadline. This is important. Set resources up for this. They fucking forget about it or they push it aside. I'll do it tomorrow. And then, like you guys are talking about this movie, like, oh my god, there should be things going on. We should have floating barges, or we should have better ships in the sea. Why don't they have more tankers? Our United States Navy, God bless these guys.
I mean, honestly, think about it. You have whole cruise industries in every country, right? I can't hear Bruce.
Okay, you have the United States Navy, and all they do is they take care of ships, including keep them from turning into floating fireballs, and they keep these ships maintained. And
I agree with you.
That's what we pay the Navy to do.
A great bad movie.
Keep the ships intact so it can blow up things and kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you look at any time, like there's a mass decommissioning going on, like whenever we got rid of our Knox class frigates and we started getting rid of our Oliver Hazard Perry guys and some of the other destroyer based style ships, when we're getting rid of these, the moment we start, we put it out there that, hey, you know what, we're going to stop doing maintenance. Just don't worry about things. We're going to stop doing maintenance. Just document stuff. And then we're going to put the ship somewhere and let it sit and let it get taken care of from there.
Yeah.
There's two classifications that happen after that. Either it is maintained afterwards, which means it's given paint and it's given love, or it's not. And there's a clear delineation because the ships that are still maintained still look like functional ships.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they look like that shit that we saw in the movie, where you have a ship kind of floating around, but with giant holes in the side,
And barnacles.
waiting for a wave to come along and swamp it and sink it.
Yeah.
So, like, the majority of people don't want to work on ships. They don't want to have to go over the side and paint. They don't want to go over and maintain stuff. We get on ships nowadays so we can protect the land we have. But if we were having to get on ships to perpetuate ourselves because there's no land to go, I think most people would just say, fuck it, I give up. Because there's a lot of work involved with keeping a ship afloat. And I think that this movie kind of reflects it almost accurately to where there's no other ships out there. Everything you see is cobbled together, barely working. There's no official OEM manual. This is all like happenstance, baling wire. Nobody cares about their vessels. They're just trying to get to tomorrow with it. If they hopefully tomorrow they'll find a nice big yacht they can commandeer and fuck that piece of shit been driving for 2 weeks. It's really horrible how we treat boats, and this movie does a good job of showing us that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys are like, oh, why aren't there more ships floating? They wouldn't care for them. They would not give them the maintenance they would need, and more importantly, there's a maintenance issue. You can only cannibalize so much. There's only so many ships in the world before you're like, well, we can't really go to anything in Japan because there's no ships in Japan we can cannibalize from. We can't go to Taiwan because we've cannibalized all those ships before we went to Japan. And everything that we did with my dad's crew completely emptied out the ships in Australia and New Zealand. So we're not going to the Pac Rim at all. So I'm just
Well, I
saying that,
can understand what you're saying, but honestly, if you really look around, okay, uh, if a lot of people that are homesteading, they figured out how to have their own water with a well. They're going to figure out how to have power if they need it with generators, with wood stoves, to live off the land basically. And then the same thing with people that have boats. I know lots of people that live on boats. They live on a boat and that's all they do. And they do take their boat out and then they go to like different places and then they come back and they live on it. They take care of it and all that stuff. So where is all those people? Where are the hundreds of thousands and millions probably around the world of people that do that? So
more than likely they got killed and murdered.
maybe. But what I'm saying is, to me, all the people that you saw on the ship, okay, that were all filthy, dirty, and they were living off of whatever spam, and you saw them throwing stuff out there to them like animals, basically. So there's people that wanted
Spam and smokes. That's all you need to live off of.
Well, they were, had cigarettes and whatever else, and they were living on this boat. So apparently there was people that wanted to work. They were working for this guy for cigarettes and spam and other crap that they would scrounge around to get and off of other boats or whatever. So the will to live was there, and they had children, like you saw on the other little dwelling that they had, where they had it built up to where they could protect themselves from the smokers when they'd come. And then when he made that comment to Helen about how she acts like a mother, well, how would you know what a mother acts like if nobody gives a shit? Like, who cares? Why have kids? Why do this? Why try to feed them? We don't have any milk. We don't have, we don't have anything. Just fuck it. Let's just all die. Let's all take care of how we're going to live. That doesn't make sense, for a movie of that's supposed to be showing you 100 years after. Okay. Supposedly the earth flooded. So I'm just saying there was gaps in it, and I think most of the gaps were probably the fact that they chopped the screenplays up and we're just trying to make something. Just like I said before we started, was that he wanted to make a movie of him being an underwater superhero, basically, where he fought bad guys and tried to protect this woman or whatever, but he was a loner. And the fact that they couldn't just have a movie where people watch him swim around and do his stuff, they had to add some stuff that happens, put people in peril, have a romance.
I just had a thought, Janet.
What
If Nick Cage was in this movie?
It might have been pretty good then.
Nick
It might have
Cage
been
was Namor.
It's
I,
him,
I
him
want to
being
be.
the mariner.
I want to be a loner that just drives around on the. I want to be a loner that pees in a recycler, and then I purify it, and then I meet this lady and her nice adopted daughter, and I'm not a nice guy, but like me and her, we fall in love and stuff. Me and her, they're not her daughter. We get together, and I can see it. I can see the fucking Nick Cageism of this movie to where somebody's like, man, that is a great idea. We could have Nick Cage in this movie. Now take out the Nick
Probably
Cage ideas.
directed by.
Do what?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I
No,
thought you were about to say something.
just let Nick Cage write a movie for Nick Cage, but then force fucking Kevin Costner to do it because that's what this movie feels like. This movie feels like it was supposed to be a $6 fucking Roger Corman directed Nick Cage movie to help him pay for a mortgage and some back taxes, and instead we get it thrown to fucking Kevin Costner.
Well, the thing is,
It would have been if it was under 5 million.
is the one that wanted to make this movie. That's why they gave him $100 million to film it. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though he had just his movie that came out earlier that year. What was it? Which one was it again? I have to look it up real quick. The other box office bomb that he had the same year.
There's a lot of them.
So hold on, I'm trying to find it because that's why I call him Kevin Costmore. But that's my nickname for him because
The last movie that I saw was in '93. That was the
A Perfect World.
A Perfect World. Yeah,
Yeah.
that criminal movie.
He was in
Criminal
Wyatt
Film.
Earp. Don't forget, he was in Wyatt Earp in '94, and that movie did really bad.
Wyatt Earp was a box office bomb, but I kind of liked that because it delves with the more realistic, historical, quote unquote, aspect of Wyatt Earp. Although it's a lot better film, but it was more Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
For Tombstone over Wyatt Earp, but which is kind of rare for me because, like, in the night dueling movie studios, oh, I've got a such and such movie. Let's do a, one would usually be better than the other. That was one of the rare instances that both were entertaining for me. One ace, but yeah, this could have been a awesome Roger Corman. We probably would have had a way different, because I was just looking at IMDb on the various actors that were going to. There's a whole slew of people.
Well, how much did Tombstone cost to make? Because that was a very elaborate movie, and it was a hell of a lot more entertaining. And it had a lot of good actors in it. It had a great story. It was action packed, and it leaned a lot towards historical event. Leading up to the battle, the shootout in Tombstone, Arizona, that type of thing. It killed his other movie that he made that bombed, because it was drawn out, boring, and it starred Kevin Costner. But one thing I wanted to bring up that I found, it said that Jean Ann Triplehorn refused to strip for this film, even though she had done nude scenes before. So I wonder why she didn't want to do it for this one, and would do them after this film. She insisted on choosing her own body double, as she wanted someone who had an ass that looked a lot like her own ass. So she wanted to make sure she did that. So I thought that was funny.
Well, my theory, and this is only going by my personal experience with being exposed to water for a very long time. One, temperature. It's too cold, little Josh gets a little shrunk. And then you got the pruny fingers and toes. And if you're doing a nude scene, you don't want to have, at least for a guy, a small Johnson and like wrinkly bits. Like, this isn't freaking Cocoon.
Mhm.
This is Waterworld. Supposed to be all hot, oiled up body with suntan and muscles and fighting pirates on the ocean.
Oh, and also there was another thing I found. It said that both the lead characters, the young girl that played the what's
And
it,
Laura,
Elora,
Ilona,
something,
yeah.
and Helen's character, that they nearly drowned on their first day by being because their
So
catamaran
many.
sank and they were dragged behind it. So they had a lot of bad stuff happen. So even though they had $100 million budget, they had some shoddy areas where, like with with some of the equipment. Because that's one of the movies I worked on. It was a pool scene, okay, and it was in a pool, but it was a fake lagoon like thing, and they had built a dock out there and everything, and they had a lifeguard, not a lifeguard, but a scuba guy in a scuba suit to rescue us if any of us drowned it, and the water was only like up to our neck. So they really were lax on making sure they had the right amount of people there for safety purposes, to make sure the equipment wasn't faulty and that kind of stuff. So that's what happens when you you look more towards what the actors want instead of a good director that's directing and making sure that people are doing their jobs to keep people safe, because you have to have the safety and the backup, ambulances or whatever else there to make sure everybody's safe. So, and I heard there was quite a few people injured working on this whole movie. So
Yeah, the movie's medical bill was great. Like, this is almost a Jackie Chan level video of.
And there really wasn't a lot of stunts for people besides the smoker guys.
Okay.
And well, I'm talking about like for the women. I'm talking about to have two women almost drowned because their catamaran sank. Where's all the people around it to make sure it didn't sink? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So little things like that are just dumb, especially when you have a child actor, right? You should have extra. It's like usually triple the amount of people, safety people around when you have children involved. And when you saw the one scenes where there were kids and they were playing and he was doing the mirror on their eyes and all that, that was five other children besides her. So I'm just saying, it just seemed like in the movie Rust, they were very lax on making sure everything was working the way it should before they shot the scenes. So I don't know. I just think that's sad, that when you got that big of a budget, you'd expect top-notch everything for all the actors.
I'm sorry.
They didn't think the same way as that. So
Tina Marino was nicknamed Jellyfish Candy because she by jellyfish.
Well, that makes sense when you're in the open ocean that you're going to get stung.
That's part of the hazard of being out in the open ocean instead of a studio. Like water movies are drowning, equipment failing, getting pinned under equipment, under the water and drowning. When you got like natural hazard and weather and stuff, that blows it up exponentially.
I wanted to say hi to people in the chat and let them know that I can't reply over there because I've got my YouTube open and I'm chatting over there, but there's no way for me to contact or to reply to you on this. Just wanted them to know that. So, but thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
And Wolf Media is correct with she wanted cake because there was 3 actresses that she was checking out boobies.
Yeah, they came in and stripped.
I don't blame her.
Because she wanted to make sure she looked good. Remember in the movie, what was it, Blue Lagoon? Yeah, Blue Lagoon. Brooke Shields was in. Her mother wanted to make sure that the actress that showed the nude scenes didn't even have a pimple on her rear end. So there, some people are very strict about wanting them to look a certain way, and they get paid pretty well. And they don't speak or anything. All they do is they're just a body double. So
yeah, I've heard.
Best you can.
Hey, Travis. He says one of the Navy buddies went to school with the young lady, the one that she was later in Napoleon Dynamite, the band film from the list. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I did you guys didn't see this movie in theaters then? You guys
I saw it. I saw it at
saw it at
home.
home? Okay. Okay.
CRTV.
Because like I'll tell you that seeing this movie after hearing about so many things, and I got back in early August that year, and it was still in theaters. In fact, I just seen this like a few days before, and my mom said, "I can't believe you went and saw the movie. That movie's going to be terrible." And I'm like, "No, actually, it was kind of fun. It was like Mad Max on the water, but it was kind of funky." And my aunt Robin got excited because she loves Mel Gibson. She's like, "Hey, I'm going to take my boys to go see that. You want to go with us?" Sure, I'll pay my way. So I went a second time later that afternoon, like not long afterwards,
Mhm.
and had a ball again. But seeing that movie in a theater versus watching it at home, completely different. Nope, we watched the 2 hour, 15-minute theatrical release. I have not seen the 3 hour version yet. There's supposed to be an even longer, like Ulysses Grant version, a Ulysses version where it's like a little longer, like 3 hours and 5 minutes. That has a
Does
bunch
it
of
give
stuff
you more information?
about
Like
the
about the
world,
girl and stuff?
more world building, more character building on on
That might be
everything
worth
except for the Mariner.
watching. Mhm.
Everything but the Mariner. That's what that stuff focuses on.
Well, yeah, because that's what they cut out. I'm sure that it said that Kevin Costner, along with the production company, are the one edited it down to 130 minutes or whatever,
Hmm.
right? So I knew that Kevin Costner's not going to cut him and leave it on the editing room floor out.
No.
That's why I call him Costner.
Okay,
Yeah.
Bruce.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on The Postman versus Waterworld?
I've never seen The Postman because Waterworld was at the point to where I didn't need to see another post-apocalyptic movie because me and some friends, Travis, one of them, he wasn't one involved, but we were at the game store one night, Beyond Hobbies and Games, and we constructed an entire type of world, a campaign setting based on Waterworld,
Yeah.
and we thought it would be really cool to have a situation like that with the functional like bits of the U.S. military and merchant marine still floating around, and with
Mhm.
plans and actions to keep things going to where we could keep things functional. Um, then later, the Postman came out in '97, and I wasn't as free on my schedules to go do stuff,
Mhm.
so I never saw that. And that's just a movie I've never seen. And Kevin Costner's in it, so it's not really a must see movie. If I'm going to say that there's a movie that I want to watch again with you guys and Janet, it's going to be Open Range, because when I saw Open Range, I thought, yeah, it's actually a really good cowboy film. And then Taylor Sheridan, starts releasing stuff in the 2014s or 2015, and he does his entire Yellowstone series of like the three time periods. And I asked people, "Have you seen Open Range yet?" No, I have not seen that. Okay, Open Range, I think, is actually a really good movie to see. But that's just me. I'm going to decline on The Postman because it just doesn't look entertaining. It looks like it's a depressing. I want to make a Brazil movie.
Well, I also read that said that it was rumored that director Kevin Reynolds and Kevin Costner had a huge squabble over the film. And that was probably because Kevin Costner wanted to be in it more and more and more and wanted to make so many changes that resulted in Reynolds walking off the project and leaving Costner to take over directing and overseeing editing. So that is probably why the third part of the movie was just seemed cut and pasted so much and cheap. Uh, and I don't know. I have heard so many talking about he's hard to work with. He's hard to deal with on the set and things like that. So
When he was doing Robin Hood, he probably rubbed him the wrong way, and then this was the straw that broke. This is bullshit.
Oh,
You go
Yeah.
see your ego.
we're just gonna make a movie. We're gonna make a movie, guys. The director's offset for the moment. Don't worry. It's all fine. It's all good. I'm gonna wear some sunglasses, and that's when I'm being director. And then
But
when I take my sunglasses off, that's when I'm working with the actor. That's when the actor Kevin's out.
but what I wanted to finish was saying is that Reynolds was quoted as saying that Kevin Costner should only star in movies he directs. That way he can work with his favorite actor and favorite director. So
That right there.
I
That
just thought
right,
that was freaking spot on. I want to get his autograph next time I get to meet him, Mr. Reynolds. He's a smart man. But it's sad. I probably shouldn't say that because I really did love him. And my favorite movie, Kevin Costner movie, is Mr. Brooks. It really is. To me, he was excellent in that movie. And all the acting was good. It was a very well done script, everything. I just loved it. I thought it was very, very well done. And he actually acted well in it. So I enjoyed it.
When Costner and Reynolds got back in the camera and in front of the camera, it was when they did the miniseries Boys, which was in 2012 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they reconciled their differences. Kind of cool because like if you're friends with somebody and like do stupid shit and hold a grudge.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they kissed and made up and now making movies together.
Well, it
But
was probably after I guess Kevin Costner met a new woman and got married and was happy at the moment. So that's probably how it worked out. But one thing I told Bruce before we started, I wanted to tell our viewers is that I told Bruce that we could review a whole month of nothing but Kevin Costner bomb movies for a whole month, and we would be able to make them.
I would love to see Bioshock as a movie
because he can
or a
spend money.
series.
He knows how to spend money, so I just thought that I just wanted to add that little jab. Sorry, guys.
That's not a movie I've heard of in a long time. 3,000 Miles of Graceland. Isn't that a Costner and Kurt Russell film?
Yeah, it's Kurt Russell. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kurt plays doesn't Kurt Russell play Elvis and Costner plays the captain or whatever his name is?
I believe so.
What's the general? I don't remember what he called him. So that was his manager. I can't remember what his name was right now. But my mom talked about him a lot and that how that person was so horrible. When he died, when Elvis died, my mom blamed him for it. His manager, because he kept him drugged up and stuff. That's what my mom believed. She loved Elvis.
Yeah, Wolfton Media, we would love to see a good Bioshock movie or TV series come out. Mm-hmm. I think Bioshock's awesome.
I haven't seen it.
It's a game.
Oh, it's a game. Well, I haven't seen that. I haven't played it.
You'd love
it.
Google.
I would love us to watch the first season of Fallout and do a review on it. I freaking love Walton Goggins. He's a good actor.
He's the best part of that Fallout show.
Yeah, but I've gotten to work with him, and he's a phenomenal actor, and he's nice. He treats people good with respect. So, and there are quite a few good actors out there that are good actors, and they're nice people. So, he's not stuck up in an asshole. I'll just put it that way.
There's movies where I really remember watching them with you, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, mm-hmm. or
and that was fun. That was a good movie.
Yeah, that was fun. Watching this movie, I'm analyzing too much. I'm seeing too many things on this crappy TV that I can tell that's composite. That's not real. That's CGI. That's a front projection. I had real problems with this, and I even if we're like, well, Bruce, you just watched it because you watched it on a crappy streaming service. It's not even that. It's the fact that after the halfway point of the movie for me breached, after we hit that halfway point, I just had zero fun with this movie. If I could have slept through the 2 hours and 10 minutes and woke up for this discussion, I'd have nicer things to say. I'm not even tired. I'm just saying that, like,
You 3 pitchers of beer, watch the super duper extended version, and it
And
might
nacho.
be better.
I liked it. I thought it was really a really good movie, and it wasn't as good as it was the first time I watched it, because I remember the first time I watched it at home, we were all like, "Wow, this was really good." I thought it was exciting. How cool it was to see the world flooded, and people having to learn how to survive. Like with the plants, that some people had, that a plant is worth so much, a tomato plant, that most people just say, oh, hell, they go buy a box of them, at Walmart, and they try to grow it, and they're happy if 2 of them live,
Mhm.
that type of thing. The work that people had to go through, if you thought about what it would be like to live on a boat.
Oh, there's a lot that's to be salvaged out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This movie's got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that was really,
He swiped all his lemons.
Yeah, that was his limes. They were limes. They were green, so they were limes. But the scene with the other guy that had on the boat, that get on there, that he was going to trade for the woman for some resin, okay, stuff like that. That was scary, because I'm a girl and I could picture myself being trapped on a boat with nowhere to go, and be a piece of meat that people swapped around to get food or a plant or some boots or whatever with someone else, to be at someone's will. That was sad, and how horrible it would be to be a child in that environment. So yeah, I remember thinking about all those things the first time I watched it, and to me that was a real possibility, if the planet ever did flood, or you were trapped somewhere, like half the planet was flooded and you were trapped there and you had no way of getting to where land was. That type of thing. It's just horrible. The whole thing that I talk about all the time anyways, with the human trafficking and things like that, I could visualize how horrible that would be to have that type of life on a boat. Just like she said, when she woke up after what had happened when he threw the little girl overboard and she dove in to help her, and she got back on the boat, and she said, you have to sleep sometime, and when you do, you're not going to wake up, because she said she's going to kick his ass, basically cut his throat or whatever when he goes to sleep. So that would have been me. I would have been thrown overboard way early in the movie, because I would have been a total bitch to him. So the only reason she wasn't even halfway nice to him is because she had that kid. Without the kid, there would have been nothing but fights going on the boat. I can tell you that. But yeah, Hungar, the Scarvarian, said it's the Colonel. The Colonel is what he was called. Elvis's handler or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
So like we have 8 billion people on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about it.
We have some landmass that could potentially still sustain life. Let's say in this universe does get flooded more than 216 feet or whatever it is that they estimated the ice caps would cause it. So you would have certain areas with enough resources to sustain life, and then you'd have your explorers looking for maybe like better resources or genetic diversity, because you don't want to have a bunch of flipper babies.
Yeah.
In this world, muties are bad.
Yeah.
The movie really shorted me on its muties, because we only see one. I wanted to see more. I wanted to see how the mutations happened across, and they talk about that in the trivia. And when
I'm not
Roger
saying
Corman,
like Jason Momoa and Amber Heard, but like more would be awesome.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was robbed. I was robbed of my bad, low budget rubber human suit animalian crap.
Humanoid.
That's what I was talking about enough backstory for the characters, for the little girl, where she came from, how she got into the population she was in. If her parents are dead on this island and they knew they were dying, that's why they put the tattoo on her back. Well, how big was the tattoo? As big as her whole back when they first put it on her? You know, all this different stuff. And then you got Kevin Costner. All of a sudden he evolves, and he's what? He looked like he was in his 40s or whatever, because he was starting to lose his hair and all that stuff. So you got a guy that's on a boat. His ears have changed because it's been 100 years since the water had flowed over, over the whole planet. And he's the only one that's out there surviving that supposedly had gills. How many other people might have had gills, that type of thing. They just left a lot of gaps. That's what I'm saying. That's why I felt like it was just choppy, very choppy. Like they'd taken 4 or 5 scripts and took different things out of it. And that might have been because of the editing that they did to rewrite it after the other director left and said, screw this shit. It's not worth it. You're not paying me enough. So he took his paycheck and left. And it was up to Kevin Costner to do it. That might be another reason why he put $22 million of his own in there, because he needed to, because he was hurting. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'd have to research more.
Positives out of the movie. Kim Coates, one of his first early roles.
Yep.
Plays the gibbering, creepy.
Yeah, he
drifter.
Was scary. That was a very scary. That was the scariest scene for me on the movie, especially when she went into his boat.
And then you got a bunch
of
of
play or whatever.
Background characters that have been and stuff.
But the way he was stumbling with his words, like he was, what was it? The helper for Vampire's Helper, Dracula's helper, Renfield or whatever. That's what reminded me of it. Like
the stereotypical meth head from like a Greyhound.
Yeah, creepy and
bus stop.
Like he was psycho because he'd been out there all by himself, and then he sees a guy on a boat with 2 girls. He'd be jealous. Yeah, I would be afraid of pulling up on a boat with like 7 men on it or something. They'd tear Kevin Costner to pieces and then tear up the 2 women. Like that movie Bone Tomahawk, where they took the women and chopped their arms and legs off so they couldn't do anything, or just had to lay there and be a piece of meat, basically, to make babies for these monsters, basically. It's disgusting, the thought process that goes through some of these psychos in a situation like that, where they, just...
You've seen Bone Tomahawk then?
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
it was way dark.
Touching on more realistic things. Cannibalism.
Hi, Bone.
God knows what.
I got excited because that's a movie that's on my list.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it's pretty. It's gruesome. That's a gruesome movie.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's a movie that I would watch again. If someone else said, "Hey, we're all bored shitless, let's have some popcorn and sit around, eat some, snacks and watch this movie," I would watch it again. I wouldn't have any problem watching it again, because it isn't a horrible movie. It's not like I got up and left like Willy's Wonderland or whatever. That is 10,000 times worse than this.
I love that movie.
But
it's bad. It's so bad.
It was horrid. It's the worst movie I've ever seen. Next to what was the one I told you about, the rabbit test or whatever? That was pretty bad too. But I didn't get up and walk out because my mom was watching that on TV. So
I would put this in my wheelhouse of post-apocalyptic movies, like low budget.
Yeah.
Even though this wasn't a low budget, like the Italian post-apocalyptic, like let's go to the quarry and blow some shit up, and we'll write a story around all these cars that we're setting on fire, and then like there's other levels of schlock that this could fall into.
Well, yeah.
It's a movie where like you can either hate it or you can appreciate it for certain bits, but don't watch it alone. Watch it with friends. If need be, imbibe some alcohol, because it'll make it better.
Yeah.
And if not,
yeah,
you can pass out.
Margaritas or, It's a nice
Tequila.
white wine and some good snacks. Yeah, I could enjoy it. I mean, it's not.
Back
It's
in
not.
the day, we would be drinking
I mean, it's not
beer and fuzzy
down on
navels and
the bottom. You
God
know, it's
knows
not a
what else.
bottom movie.
And then we get these movies, you know, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Mad Max, and we just watch them and enjoy them.
What was the budget for Mad
This
Max?
is one of those.
I'd like to know.
For Mad Max was less than I think $100,000.
Really?
Yeah, it was less than 100,000.
Holy shit! Well, that puts Kevin Costner even more at shame because the special effects and the fighting and the explosions and the costumes and everything that was in that, you know, with the tank looking vehicles and all that.
Oh, my bad.
Oh,
Australian between $350,000 and $400,000.
oh, still,
But still, that's like Australian dollars, not American dollars.
yeah.
And at the box office, it raked in over 100 million.
Yeah, I can see why. I mean, and plus he had a good actor and
Australian money hold of it.
a good script. It was a good revenge movie.
Yeah.
You know? Where he was wanting to get revenge for the death of his
No offense to our Aussie
wife
friends, but
and stuff. So it was good. But Mel Gibson and Kevin Costner are no comparison, I don't think.
that was a low budget movie, technically,
Mhm.
and they didn't have permits, so they had to do some
Guerrilla
shady
filmmaking.
cinematography, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did, but it was good. It was very well done. I loved the whole little creepy dad with his little creepy kid that flew around that little plane thing he had, helicopter weird thing. That was good too. Just little things like that was good. in that
I
movie.
love the stunt work in this movie. The stunt work in this movie, I think, is pretty high tier for 1990s. It's one of the best exhibitions of good stunt work. Some of the pyrotechnics in this movie are fantastic.
Mhm.
There's some really good pyro in this film.
The ship explosion that looked real. Did you the billowing fireball coming straight up from it, the way it billows into each other and stuff? That looked real to me. That looked like the real ship went off when I watched it. Yeah,
Part of my brain's like that doesn't look right, and then I just might be the internet.
well, look it up. See how they did it. That was very. I thought it was. Very,
I've been trying to, and I wanted to know more, and that's like I get to a certain point, and like Kevin Costner's pin stopped because it wasn't focusing on him. So let's go back to the guy with losing his hair. Anyway, I want to know more about the explosions, about the various things, and I get into injury reports of things that weren't involved with that, but they were involved with making the movie. The injury reports are pretty legion on this film too. There's a big injury list on this entire film.
I can believe it.
Where this movie falls apart for me, like I said, is the halfway mark, and at that point, it's like where I just want to fall asleep because I despise. I hate the way this movie wraps itself up, and it, the more you know about the back end shit that happened, where they lost like an entire set to the hurricane, or that was $20 million. Or
yeah, but that's different. Okay, when you have stuff on a set, you have insurance on it.
Yeah, you do, but
has it. So if a hurricane came or an earthquake or there was a fire or something like that, that's all paid for by the insurance company. You get
and
your
all
money.
of that is understandable. But then you have Kevin Costner acting like a prima donna, and he pisses off the director, and they get into an argument again and again and again. And finally, the director throws his hands up, and the papers go everywhere. Some go floating off. He's like, "Fuck it, enjoy making your goddamn film. I'm going to go find some fucking mimosas and try to find my sanity." And Kevin Costner's like, "Well, wait, well, what? Fuck it. Let me put the sunglasses on." And he's a director now, and that's all he does. Between him flopping between director and star, that's all that happens. That's all the stuff I'm able to find on this throughout the rest of this movie. And it just seemed to fall the fuck apart. They have an almost award-winning scriptwriter flown out there, Joss Whedon, and he's not a saint. Don't think he's a saint. He's not. But he's good at least getting things smoothed out and trying to massage things to where the mainstream public is going to just gobble it down like a sweet young thing on homecoming night, and
Yeah.
that's what he's there to do. And so that's his specialty. And instead of him getting to do his specialty, he's instead there with a fucking flip notebook writing down ideas from Kevin Costner, because Kevin Costner's done this for decades. I know what the fuck I'm doing. Hollywood doesn't need to fucking do this, blah, 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 blah. And so I don't get to watch the movie I want to watch in my 50s. I'm watching a movie that I enjoyed in my 20s, but the more I learn about it now, and the more I learn about the fucking egos behind it, the more I'm completely fucking happy never watch this fucking movie again. If it's on TV with you guys in a fucking room and I want to spend quality time with you guys in a fucking room, I guess I'm watching this movie out of the corner of my eye. Not
Yeah.
really. But I'm not going to fucking worry about it. But if you guys are watching like Masturbates with Sandpaper, I'll probably enjoy that more. Because I sure as shit didn't enjoy the last half of this movie. It was really just one scene after another where I can see David Twohy had written a really neat world, because he writes really neat worlds. He wrote fucking Riddick. He wrote fucking Chronicles of Riddick. He got involved with Triple X. He's made fun things.
Yeah.
And the fun was sucked out of this movie, on my opinion, with one of those gigantic straws you give the kid with diabetes, and you just watch the fucking bug juice go up. All right, there you go. The movie has it's a twofold movie for me. I love some of the special effects. I love the fact they did so much with it. They figured out logistics on how to get bathrooms available for fucking prima donna actors who ate way too much the night before. And some actors learn discipline, so they don't like have fish and chips until like 4 a.m. But I can tell you that this movie here has a lot to offer. And boy, if it tries to utter even one advert, it's already given you too much in promises, because the payoff on this film is sad, and it should have been so much better. I wish this would have been a Nick Cage movie.
Well, I just found something else I was reading about the box office information. It says the Waterworld reportedly budget was 172 million and a total outlay of 235 million once marketing and distribution costs were factored in. Because of the runaway cost of this production, some critics dubbed it fish tar. Did you know that? And Kevin's Gate. I just love that. Alluding to the flops of Ishtar and Heaven's Gate. I just thought that was funny. So basically, yeah. But yeah, that's a shit ton of money. And it says the film debuted at the box office at #1 for its first weekend. Waterworld collected a total of 21.6 million. At the end of its run, the film grossed 88 million. So, and it grossed 176 million overseas for a worldwide total of 264 million. So basically, they barely passed what they spent on it to when it was out at the theater. So that isn't a blockbuster at all. And that's considering. I wonder how much they charged for tickets back in the what was it, 1994? Is that what you said?
1995. I was paying $7 for a ticket in 1995.
So
a matinee was like
$5,
something like that.
Yeah, $5 matinees.
$3.50 and place.
I was trying to find.
Oh, and this had the proto meme of a jar of dirt before
yeah,
it became a meme.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not saying this movie's horribly bad. I think the majority of this film's problems are not with Kevin Costner himself.
Yeah.
I think if he would have taken some time from everything in life and just go process his divorce, I think a third to a half the film's issues, the faults with this movies that are attributed to human error, this movie would not have had them. It would have been a fine film. It would have been a movie that would have been enjoyable to watch over and over and over again. It's still enjoyable to watch. There's still some pretty okay parts of it. But there's like so much involved with it that when I'm watching a lot of it, I'm just like, well, Dennis Hopper's not on screen, so this obviously is a part where the good guy is supposed to look like he's in a Clarion ad. And I just feel like that every time Kevin Costner's on screen. I wish I could feel a little different, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I have questions after watching this.
Go ahead.
Like, Kevin Costner is a mutant. He's half fish, half person. So when she's sucking on his face, is it like, does he have weird fishy breath?
Yeah.
That's why I was like, who did it better, Kevin Costner or the fish man from movie Body of Water?
Yeah, and that's why I answered. When I answered, I said, well, I'd have to say Kevin Costner because his movie came out way before the others. So I would say
Really good chemistry.
Well, she was in love with him because she was a fish girl. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
So I guess it'd been a long time for her, so I guess she was willing to take whatever she could get. So I don't know, but I just thought the whole thing was and the whole thing.
If he found some banaka,
it did crack me up a little bit. Some of the scenes with Kevin Costner, it was almost like he was immature. Like he spent most of his life, I guess, on a boat without people around. Did everything for himself. Like his parents had abandoned him because he was a fish boy. You know what I mean? Because like when he didn't like her playing with his crayons and you know, and then the part where he said, where she said, "How come you turned me down the first time?" And he said, "Because you didn't want me." And he says it like a little kid would say it, you know, just little, I don't know. He just seemed very immature and childlike in some scenes, which were good. I'm saying if he, like he was trying to portray the character, but then other scenes, it was like him in all of his other movies. I don't know. I just felt like he was like through his part. And it just wasn't he just didn't play the character well enough for me. And then a couple of the scenes, like I said, with the editing, was the part where he's in the cage and it's sinking and he's almost under the thing way down. It was like a half inch or a quarter of an inch, like this much space, 2 inches maybe. And then when you go back to the cage again, it's like another half of the cage again. So little things like that, like he was trying to. That's why I really felt like it was edited mostly for him. He edited it, and I didn't know that he had taken over as director, but I could tell that he had a lot to say because a couple of the movies that we have done, I said, "Wow, you can tell that the director was pushing us to the end because he wanted us to see his grand finale of how this guy transcends, you know, stupid shit like that." That when the director becomes obsessed with something, it ruins it. Because the whole thing is supposed to be a collaboration of the actors, the story, the writer, and all the people wanting to see it on a big screen as the story, as a theatrical entertainment, like it's supposed to be. And then other times you see it and it's like, here, eat my movie. It's so good. You're going to like it. You know, that kind of thing. It's forcing it down your throat. And that's basically how I felt about some of his movies. He is like, you're going to love me because I'm me. You know, it doesn't matter what the script's about. You just want to see me on screen because I'm that good. And I just get that feeling from him, and I don't enjoy his movies. And some of them, every so often, I'll see one. I'm like, hey, you know what? This wasn't too bad considering he was in. Because guess what? He wasn't a director and he wasn't a producer. In the movies that I like him in, he doesn't have those parts. And he actually took direction from someone else, and he was good. See, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what's hard for me for a lot of these people.
Well, I'm going to say that I found something that there's a link in the chat here, and if you follow it, they got to take Waterworld off the all-time flop list because it's profitable now. As of, like I said, 2013, the movie's been making money. It's over like $67 million in profit.
Yeah, now because
Now,
climate change stuff is caught on. It's
well,
okay.
no, let's not just say that. Let's say the Super Nintendo game, the Sega
Oh,
Genesis
I
game.
didn't know about games because
They did have a Nintendo Virtual Boy game, which was the only licensed game for the Virtual Boy. And
yeah.
for those of you that know what I just said there, we can all shudder at once. Ugh. Um, there was lunch boxes, and if there were not lunch boxes, there was other merch. I remember folders. I remember posters. I remember shirts. Waterworld was an advertising phenomenon at the time that was quickly approaching uh, the Star Wars Ewoks Village level of merch. They were getting ready to put together toys for Waterworld,
Mhm.
and then they started seeing some things on the horizon, which thought like, wait, maybe we should put the brakes on this, and they did not. I wanted to see that.
Oh, now I want to awesome
I
action
wanted to
figure.
see like the play set for the giant atoll. I wanted to see that. That would have been cool, but it doesn't matter. Um, this movie was steamrolling towards that, and they had the brakes pumped. So this movie had a bunch of almost could have beens. We almost had James Caan as the deacon. We almost they tried putting Jack Nicholson in, but that did not fit the budget. So nope, no Jack Nicholson. They had so many things they wanted to put into this movie, and they had to retract it at the last second. And then when Costner got involved at the helm, just things kind of fell apart. But this movie is a classic case of how things can go wrong, kind of in a hurry. And as much as people have some rose-colored glasses, or they're like, honestly, I do enjoy this film. Uh, there's a lot of issues with the movie that still are persist. Your enjoyment of it is all that's necessary for you, and that's great.
Mhm.
I've already had a couple chats in here talk about how they would rate the movie, and if you want to rate the movie, we'll be more than happy to pin it and have Janet read it. Because Janet, here's our first rating.
I enjoyed it. I don't worry about what happened backstage. Well, we're supposed to because we're having to watch it to pick it apart basically. But I agree with you. He gave it an 8 out of 10. That is what I would also give it, an 8 out of 10, because it was a good movie. It was good entertainment up to a point, and the watching it the second time is when I really started noticing gaps, like where her parents were. But I remember asking that, what happened to her parents? How come they didn't give us more information on how she got into Waterworld? That type of thing. So that was one of the questions that I had with the first time I watched it. But I just could tell the more I got into it after years later when I watched it again for the second time. I've watched this like 7 times, I guess. It's like the seventh time I've watched it. And each time I've watched it, I found more wrong with it, because now, because I have done movies and done TV shows and stuff like that, I see a lot more of the the intricate parts that go behind the scenes and why I can see it on screen now. You know what I mean? You can see things, and I could definitely tell that it went downhill. And I didn't know if it was because of money or because why he had so much say in anything. Because if a director is directing a movie, usually all the actors are supposed to. The director is supposed to always be right. You do what the director tells you. He's a director and he's directing you on what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if you are fighting with the director in front of all the other people, that isn't a good thing. And that hurts people. I mean, it hurts the other actors, because guess what? A lot of them don't want to work with that person again because that person causes problems. A lot of actors want to go work on a movie, and workers, people that are doing crafty or makeup or hair and all that stuff. They tend to want to work on sets that are smooth, fun, and enjoyable. And when you're on a set where there's every single day you go waiting for an explosion, and you're all walking around like, don't make noise, don't do this, don't do that, it's not fun. It makes the movie no fun. And a lot of people work on a set with that same actor again the next time. They'll say, "Nah, it's all right. I got another one over here. I'll go do that instead." And that's sad. And when you have that and you have it multiple times, like this one actor's had, I can see. I mean, I give them a chance over and over again, like when I watched Yellowstone, because I saw all the other actors, and it's a Western, and I love Westerns. But over time, you started saying, yeah, I can tell he's got more and more say because it's starting to get worse. And it's a sad thing to say that, but I'm trying to be honest about it. I'll shut up now. I'll let one of you guys talk about it.
You want to give Crafting's rating there?
Oh, 8 out of 10. He's also given 8 out of 10. And I think that's fair, more than fair for this movie. 6 out of 10. Missed opportunities and overly ambitious. Yeah, definitely. See, you were a little more critical on it. And it's sad because it had so much potential with so many wonderful scenes and sets and good actors. Because there was a lot of good acting, very creepy scenes and things like that. But yeah, you're right. And to me, it was basically one actor that caused all the problems. But that's my point of view. So, you know.
Six Nations. You want to give a synopsis for your?
It was overly ambitious, yes. Missed opportunity, yes. Especially for Kenner. If you remember, Ewok Village, by the 90s, we had Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
Love that movie.
Love that movie.
As bad as it is, I love that movie. They rehashed the Ewok Village to be Sherwood Forest.
Yes.
That was Kevin Costner as an action figure. Which now I want to find one and put gills behind his ears and turn him into a fish man.
Yeah.
They could have rehashed it the third time. Ewok Village. No, oil derrick. Slap some rusty metal on it. And bam. A couple of pennies on the dollar. And you got a toy franchise all over again. And so I would rate this like 69 out of 100. Because why the hell not? It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. It was too expensive for the schlock that I love, that is horrible and makes you sick watching it, but it was kind of schlocky. And that was due to the umpteen billion different problems that they had internally. Externally, it was a fairly decent movie. Go watch it with friends and family. It's relatively kid-friendly with the exception of like the smoking and some creepy part.
And the alcohol drinking.
It's not overtly creepy. If you're not Gen X, yes. Post X, I was 2 when I had my first.
Really?
But that wasn't because my mom was a bad parent. She just didn't watch her can, and I knew how to walk.
Yeah.
That happens.
So it's a funny story. But this movie was good. Like, you turn off your brain of the world, especially if you happen to be relying on USAID, and you go get some food or drink, friends and family, and you shut your brain off for 2 hours and watch a wonderful, like, Max on Water film with some really goofy parts. And try not to analyze it, because then you start seeing the gap, wondering why this couldn't have been better.
All right.
So I would say watch it and then think about it. And if you liked it, you're going to watch it again. If you didn't, there are better post-apocalyptic movies, better water movies, Humanoids of the Deep. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Deep Rising comes to mind because Wolf 10 Media said he's
Rising was a good. God.
we'll need to watch. We'll need to watch that soon because Treat Williams, God bless his soul, he recently passed in the last couple of years. Good guy.
Underwater. I'll even say Underwater. You know, I don't really care much for the modern movies. Most of them have some weird subversive idealism in them, but Underwater was a decent one. Like this gal's going through some trauma in her relationship. They're underwater in these high-tech rigs doing oil rig or geological stuff, and then they run into Cthulhu and it's Hellspawn, and like, who doesn't like Cthulhu under the water? It's creepy as
Underwater.
fuck.
I'm trying to remember, there was a movie I wanted to put on the list, and it was an underwater movie with the aliens, and it had that water spout that went around, and it had a face on it. It looked like the woman that was looking at it.
Are you talking about The Abyss?
Yeah, that's a movie I want you to put on the list. That's a good water movie.
That I can find. You guys know my feelings on things. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. 55 out of 100. The majority of this movie is all right.
Mm-hmm.
This movie could be scads better. I wish it was scads better. This is a theatrical cut I'm reviewing, not the extended version, which actually goes into the stuff I want to know about, like the world and the various aspects of everything leading up to the current situation. So if you're saying I'm holding out hope for the extended version, you're right, because I am. This movie had a lot of joy for me when I was a very young man, and unfortunately now watching it, not really so much. I wanted to like this a lot more. Today I didn't. And this is just one of those films that you have these movies where occasionally like things will happen, times change, and you'll have a situation like The Cowboy Way, where you go into the movie, man, I remember this movie was great at the theater in 1994. Let's watch it again. And at the very end, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? Ernie Hudson said it was cool for him to crash a goddamn truck into a nightclub. Are you fucking serious? I mean, no, I that's how I felt watching this today, and I came to hate everything about the scenes with Kevin Costner because Kevin Costner seems to be going through a lot of shit, and instead of him taking time off, being an adult, want to go decompress, ride horses, fuck hookers, snort cocaine, and get the fucking divorce out of my head, and I'll be back in 8 months to be an adult and be around you guys and be willing to make a check. Instead, he's just like, nah, I'll be fine. Let's go do it. And he's miserable throughout the entire filming aspect of this film. And his relations with everybody is shit. So whatever he was going through, it really spilled over into film. This is a situation that most men can self-diagnose. Unfortunately, he didn't. And I'm gonna knock every aspect of this movie with Kevin Costner in it. There's other movies that Costner did since then that are really good, and I'll even throw out their Open Range. I want to watch that with you all someday, but it's just it's one of those things that I think this movie here is suffering because of the timing of everything that happened, and because the fact that he did not decide to pump the brakes. That's why I'm going to drag it, and that's what I'm doing. So. Appreciate everybody being here. I know y'all want to discuss things, and you might disagree with an opinion, but man, there are some other better films out there that do this genre some justice. I wanted to see this movie and feel good about it. I wish I did. Janet, what are we watching next? Okay.
I don't remember what the next movie is. I think you said it was. I don't remember.
It was a toss up between The Last Unicorn and the other one.
Last Unicorn. It's the last unicorn.
How much good.
We're watching the last unicorn on
It'll be a fun
the
movie to watch.
on the 30th of March. We're going to watch the last unicorn. So if you wanted to hear our discussion about the last unicorn, a very highly rated movie from the 1980s, actually not really even widely seen. That was like a mid-level release. Not a lot of release on it. Did more in video rentals, video sales. Come by next week. We'll discuss The Last Unicorn. We'll be happy to do that for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I was fortunate enough to see it in a theater. I had the record with the storybook, like just the 80s.
Do you still have it? Do you still have the book?
I think it's in storage somewhere.
Well, that's cool.
That's
It's
great.
pretty much a black hole right now.
Oh. Well, everybody, thank you for coming out today and putting up with my attitude and with our issues that we had behind the scenes. A lot of that I'm going to attribute to me. I'm in a foul mood because trying to get a hold of some things just for a watch party real quick. Some things are real easy. Some things are super easy. And then other times you go out to find a movie like The Book of Eli. Where the fuck is that? Like, you got to pay for that. If you think about watching that and sharing it with your friends, all of a sudden, like, here come the gates are crashing down. They're saying no to you. And
I have lots of movies on DVD, but I have no way of showing it to you because I don't have. There's no slot on my computer. So how do I share a DVD on Discord with everyone?
I tell you what, if you're in the chat, how would a person hook up a DVD player to their PC to stream for their friends? If you guys can help with that.
Late 90s tech.
Yeah, this is like some late 90s tech we're going into.
Because remember, we watched Blues Brothers and I took my iPod.
It wasn't the Blues Brothers. It was the movie with Christy McNichol. Because we watched.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, well, whatever the movie was, I had to take my stand and I have my camera and stuff on when I'd make videos, and I put it in front of my TV and I turned the movie on and I had my phone facing it so he could watch it with me, so we could watch it, and that's really frustrating. But I have cases and cases and cases of movies, tons of DVDs of all types of movies and some Blu-rays, but I have no way with this new computer and stuff that I picked out. I didn't realize it didn't have a slot. It just has the little whatever those are called.
And just I'm going to reiterate, like, when you do a film shoot, like, you'll spend like what, 2 hours, Janet, sitting everything set up, making it just right, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The light and everything has to be just right.
So filming has to stop every day on Waterworld about 3 to 4 o'clock because that's when the rain comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That kills it. That absolutely kills your entire time. You're now dumping money for an extended shoot because you're going to have to project weeks in advance.
Oh, and also you got to remember too, when you're on a set like that, I thought you meant here at my house, but
No.
On a set, okay, whenever you have a scene where you have more than one actor, you have two actors face each other or three, you have to have the camera behind the actor filming the actor they're speaking to. And then you stop, you move everything, and you do the same scene again, exactly the same, and it's got the cameras on the other person and then the other person. They edit together and make it a full conversation, so you see the expressions of all the people while they're speaking. So basically you're seeing a scene that's been filmed 10, maybe 20 times, depending on how many mistakes they made, whether someone dropped a glass in the background, whatever. So there's a lot of stuff done on just one scene. Basically, when you get your sides for the day, it's cut into scenes, one scene for this, and then down the street, second crew might be filming water scenes, above scenes, things like that. So you've got a lot of stuff going on because you could be filming multiple scenes depending on who's in the scene too. So I'm just saying, depending on how many actors are in the scene.
Janet, do you know if your CD drive, have you tried DVD.
I haven't. I don't have one. I'd go get a little because my dad and mom have a little just a DVD player that they're not using, and I could go get it and plug it into my computer if I knew how to do it.
Hold on.
Because
I think I have a solution for you.
get an external DVD drive that you can plug into your computer, but if your CD drive is also a DVD drive, you can pop the movie in and see if it'll play. You may need some sort of media.
VLC player.
What's that mean?
Yeah.
It's called VLC player. If you've got a DVD player that's already hooked up to your PC, VLC player will take it, grab the codecs, and interpret it to where it can spit it out in your visual unit, and you'll be able to enjoy it.
Okay, well, send me any of that information, and I'll try to go get me whatever that is.
Do you have a DVD drive on your PC?
No, I have to buy. I have a DVD player. It's little, and I'd get it from my parents.
No, I don't know.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I don't have anything. That's what I said when I went to go get a disc that one time. Remember, I was saying I played a movie for us, and I was like, I don't even have a slot on my Alienware computer. It's all the little flash drive plugs. That's it.
I get it. Well, they're cheap as fuck right now. Excuse me. On
I have
Amazon.
tons of movies. I mean, tons and tons and tons of movies.
Anyway, this has been one of those more struggled situations for the day, and I appreciate everybody stopping by today. We'll be back next week with The Last Unicorn. Up until then, me and Janet and Josh will be discussing some hardware solutions for Janet. She's got a lot of DVDs. Hey, that'll fix a lot of issues. Thank you so much for being a part of today's stream. I know it wasn't that pleasant to watch, but it's just one of those things where sometimes you have a film and you're like, God, this tastes like liver. Ah.
I like liver.
It's nutritious, yes.